Welcome back to Mountain Connections. You may have heard that there's a little storm on its way. Actually, a very big storm is coming, and I'm very grateful to have Craig Gordon here, avalanche forecaster with Utah Avalanche Center. We need to know things, what we can do ahead of this big storm in the holidays. Craig, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, and Merry Christmas Eve, right?
Yes, here we are.
Man, things are gonna turn on here. We're gonna see a really robust series of storms. It's an atmospheric river, right? So we love this stuff because it is gonna mean big snow, big water, big wind. All of a sudden, there is gonna be a thick coat of white paint in our mountains, but that's also gonna mean an elevated avalanche danger. Things are gonna get super, super sketchy.
Let's talk about right now. If someone is going out today before this storm, really the bulk of it arrives, how are conditions?
Well, right now we've got an avalanche watch in place. And so kind of the way that works in a time frame, you get a watch, you get a warning. Basically, we're giving people a heads up. It's about to get real. So we definitely want to avoid any of those steep wind-drifted slopes. And you know, mountain weather and the snowpack has got some chronology to it, right? So if we go back in time, you know, the last time we visited, there was hardly any snow in our mountains, and then kaboom, what happens 2 weeks ago? Not only is Snowbird celebrating its 50th anniversary, but it was blessed with Mother Nature here dumping about 2 feet of snow. That snow formed on this weak sugary layer that we've been talking about since November, so strong snow on weak snow. What we saw immediately were these shooting cracks. Remember that weak snow is like dominoes. Once we step on it, those dominoes flip over. That strong slab starts to release its energy. We see these shooting cracks, so we're already seeing avalanches starting to form, or at least those indicators. Right up here, Wolf Creek Pass, which is still open and an easy grab. You can see pieces of snow that have moved. So remember, avalanches are the biggest clue to unstable snow. And as we start to segue into time, that's just round one. Now, last Wednesday night into Thursday, this is our place in Cottonwood Heights, in between Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. You know, when there's an avalanche on the avalanche forecaster's car there, that things are going to be sketchy in the mountains. 2 feet of snow. It dumped really rapidly, and that Friday with a little more new snow, you can see great riding conditions. This skier coming down in the Silver Fork area in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Great riding conditions. This is the second skier. Now the third skier comes down, and as we zoom into this, life is good until it isn't. This gentleman collapses those dominoes. They all tip over, and now the slab is pushing him downhill right into these trees. Boom, you hit the trees shake. Fortunately, everybody's prepared for their own self-rescue. They've got avalanche transceivers, shovels, probes. Gentleman's hand is sticking out of the snow. He is extricated with no problems. Along the Park City Ridgeline, walking along the ridge as things clear out that afternoon, you can trigger avalanches. You can see these things are 4 to 6 feet deep, and they're triggered from a distance. That's always a sketchy scenario. And hey, check out this picture. So we've got an avalanche in this one portion of the picture. If you look down to the lower left portion, you can see tracks on that slope. This is super deceiving, and it's all going to look white to us. Any of those slopes that had pre-existing snow, that's where the sharks are swimming right now. Any of the slopes that didn't have pre-existing snow, the south half of the compass, those all burned off back in November, and those are generally good to go. Again, back up here to these north-facing slopes in Upper Big Cottonwood Canyon, right out of the gates, 9 o'clock, 9:15 on Saturday morning. Gentleman triggers this avalanche that breaks deep, that breaks wide. He pulls his airbag. He's able to rise to the top. Super close call here. Close calls everywhere throughout the range, and we wrap up the day with this remotely triggered avalanche that's anywhere between 4 to 6 feet deep, hundreds of feet wide. So we see the writing on the wall, right? It's there. This is before this big storm starts to plow into the state and is going to start to stack up huge amounts of snow, but not only snow, big water weight. So all of those layers that maybe started to become comfortable in their own skin for a moment or two, they are going to come alive. And as soon as we start loading those layers up, they are going to be reactivated. We're going to see some deep, dangerous avalanches the next couple of days.
You can see from that video of that avalanche just how quickly it can happen. And that was so fast.
Yeah, so fast. What's deceiving, Christine, it's like, it's not the first skier, it's not the second skier, it's the third skier. When we have these persistent weaknesses in the snowpack, it often allows us to get well out onto the slope. Before we collapse the slope, we'll hear a heart-stopping whoomph. We hear that, the slab shatters like a pane of glass around us, and now we're off for the ride of our lives. So these are deceptively tricky avalanche conditions. We've got a great exit strategy for you though, right? We've got the greatest resorts in the world with the greatest snow on earth. Parlay all the hard work that the ski patrol women and men, the snow safety teams, that are knocking down the avalanches before we even roll into the parking lots, parlay their hard work, spin, lift, serve laps the next couple of days. If you're headed out for a rip on the sled, big wide open meadows, you can carve deep trenches as long as you don't have any steep slopes above or adjacent to where you're riding. And if you're headed out for a snowshoe where you do want to get back into the backcountry, remember, please avoid any terrain that's connected to steep slopes above or adjacent to you. Low angle terrain is going to be the ticket, but the big heads up is changing avalanche conditions. This is nothing that we want to roll the dice with. We go to our website, UtahAvalancheCenter.org, your one-stop shop for all things avalanche. You can see that pretty much this central core from Logan through the central Wasatch, western Uintas down to the Manti skyline, we're lighting up with a considerable avalanche danger. On a scale of 1 to 5, Christine, that is a level 3, but it's going to get tricky because that means that human-triggered avalanches are likely. They're going to be deep. They're going to be dangerous. Let's not roll the dice these next couple of days. Let's make sure that we're having great days. We get to the bottom of the trailhead, the bottom of the lift, to the parking lot at the end of the day. We're high-fiving. We come home to our families. We get to enjoy a great holiday. And looking at mountain weather, this thing really, really ramps up. Tonight, we're going to see amazing snowfall rates, like 2 inches an hour, probably after midnight. Yeah, it is going to stomp, right? I mean, that's just sort of the way this thing is coming together. Strong winds, dense, heavy snow. Through tomorrow, we get a little bit of a break on Saturday. Don't be lured into a false sense of security with that. This thing ramps back up Sunday, Monday, and again Tuesday, Wednesday. Prolonged event. It's going to be great for our mountains. The good news, pump the brakes, have a little caution, and remember that the mountains are always going to be there. I think eventually, and maybe as soon as a week from now, we start turning the corner and the snowpack slowly becomes comfortable in its own skin. So patience, right? It's a virtue in life. It's a virtue in the mountains. It's a virtue in this kind of backcountry setting that we're in.
And you can get out and enjoy the backcountry as long as we follow your advice. And what we learned from those avalanches just this past weekend, they were all prepared.
They were all prepared, but the ticket right now, I mean, these are close calls, right? The ticket right now is avoidance. Okay, yeah, you need the gear, but it's sort of like the seatbelt or the airbag in your car. We're not relying on this thing, right? We're not going out to cause car wrecks and say, oh yeah, the airbags are gonna go off, we're good to go. Avoidance is the big ticket because these avalanches, they're going to be big, they're going to be nasty, they're going to be mean, they're going to be timber snappers, and we definitely don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
So be patient.
Yeah, be patient. That's
Head to the resorts.
Right now.
It's your best bet.
Yeah, resorts are
Big
your
open
best bet,
fields.
low angle terrain. Yeah, I mean, we can do this collectively. Let's all do this as a community, and let's make that pledge. We come home safely to our families at the end of the day and get to enjoy the holidays together.
Well, we always appreciate this life-saving information. Thank you so much, Craig, for being here. I know that you're not getting a holiday, but we're so grateful you're here working so hard every single day to keep us safe. So
it is my pleasure. It's my honor. Peace be with everybody, and look forward to seeing you maybe in the new year.
Yep, we'll see you very soon.
Right on.
Thanks
Look
so much,
forward to that.
Craig.
Thanks, Christine.
All right, you can head to UtahAvalancheCenter.org for all this information, avalanche conditions, but please follow Craig's advice. Have patience. Avoidance is what you need, especially heading into this big snowy time for the holidays. We'll be back here on Mountain Connections right after this.